This is my character, Yvette. She's a half-drow. Drow in our setting have sharp fangs, and she's got her mother's pale skin tone. Suffice it to say, she might have had to face a joke or two about being a vampire as a little girl. Maybe it is destiny that she became an actual vampire. Content warning. This video has a lot of stuff that could probably trigger you. Read the warnings on screen and proceed at your own discretion. Thank you. Hi, I'm Inky. I have a lot of D&D characters, it's kind of my thing, and I am getting them ready for Artfight 2025. I'm making all of them ref sheets, and every week I post one of them, and I tell you about them. This week on the chopping block, my girl Yvette, like the intro suggested. Yvette, like everybody else, is from my setting, and by my setting I mean my friend's setting that he very graciously DMs for us. I love you, man. Specifically, Yvette is from the nation of Viridania, which is a northern, but not all the way northern nation of the continent. That is not the most important thing here. I think that perhaps the most important thing here is that Viridania has a vampire problem. There's a history of vampires in Viridania, which isn't great, because there's a rite in Viridania that involves soaking a cloth with both your blood and the blood of your beloved to ensure that you two will be together in the afterlife. Another thing of note in Viridania is that they have some unique gods. Most regions in the setting have local gods. And here today I will focus on Suyusha of Sun and Sandstone, which is the goddess that Yvette follows. Like the name suggests, she is, among other things, a goddess of the sun. Mostly a goddess of the sun, really. The belief among her followers is that the sun is her one true eye. She encompasses the domains of light, life, possibly war, so quite a varied goddess. The idea is that her light, in too much measure, scorches and dries, but in just the right amount also gives life and warmth. Another thing I need to establish is that we're going to work with what I'm calling Baldur's Gate 3 vampire rules. I don't know if they're applicable to every D&D setting, but they are to ours. There's vampire masters, which have more power, and vampire spawns, which have less power. Furthermore, in our case, vampire masters, or pure-blooded vampires, can turn into mist, turn into bats, and make more vampires. And they need human blood to keep existing. Vampire spawn are the vampires made by a vampire master. They are created when a vampire master exsanguinates someone. Vampire spawn cannot turn into mist, cannot turn into bats, and are less sturdy. They do not necessitate human blood to survive. They can live on animal blood. A vampire spawn can become a vampire master by drinking of the blood of the master. This can be done by the master willingly giving the spawn their blood, or it can be done by the master being killed and having their blood taken from them. The vampire spawn cannot disobey their master. If the master issues a command, the spawn will follow it, even unwillingly. Not that they're compelled to, but rather that their body just starts following the order, regardless of whether they want to or not. Furthermore, every vampire takes damage from sunlight and holy water and running water. They do not reflect on mirrors, and the way to make sure that they stay dead, because they are very good at healing themselves, is by staking them. The other thing is that vampires need to be invited to enter houses, and this includes temples because they are the house of a god. Young Yvette was nothing more than an acolyte of the goddess, holding a small little role in the church where she wasn't really anyone of importance, but she felt beloved and in community. Everything changed one night. Yvette, being half-drow, is not the most sunlight resilient, ironically enough, so she was holding the night shift. A woman came to the door of the temple, and there were no priests during that time. She was asking to confess, and Yvette figured that she could be of service. The faith did not dictate that you needed to be a priest to confess people, merely that it was preferable. So she invited the woman in, she closed one of the confession rooms, and she let her pour her heart out. The woman, I should say girl maybe, considering that she was Yvette's age, started asking for forgiveness. for what she was doing, for what she had done, for what she was about to do. In frantic attempts at gasping out a sentence, her father kept coming up again and again. He was clearly some sort of overbearing, overwhelming figure. Yvette tried her best to ground her, and it became apparent very soon what she was asking for forgiveness for, as she looked up and she saw that the girl had red eyes. Nothing has red eyes except vampires. Amidst sobs and apologies, the girl started clawing at her and attacking her. She didn't want to do this, she said, but she was doing it anyway. And so, Yvette started crying out for help. She wasn't alone in the night shift, even though the temple was mostly empty. She started trying to fight free from the clutches of the girl, when a different person from the temple showed up to help. In comes Mulveen, fellow acolyte, several hundred years older than Yvette being a drow, wielding a broom. The two of them didn't always see eye to eye. He was far too casual and a little bit of a drunk, and she was too by the books and a little too sweet. Maybe she annoyed him a little too much, asking him to tell her about drow culture when her father wouldn't. Whatever the case, he was there to help. They managed to free Yvette from the grasp of the vampire, but he tells her to run. Yvette doesn't run. Yvette wouldn't leave anybody alone with a vampire. Goodness above knows what could happen to them. They could be killed or worse. So she doesn't leave him, and in the ensuing fight, she goes out like a light, and she just passes out. What happens next is a bit of a fuzz. Waking and sleeping and sleeping and waking and feeling cold and being feverish and tired, so tired. But eventually she comes to, inside of a casket. When she climbs out, a man is waiting for her, tall and domineering. He introduces himself as Lucia Dance and her new master. From there out, the days become sort of a blur. This is her life now. Whatever he says goes, and she doesn't really have a choice. Many would hesitate to call this life, but Yvette especially. Having been brought up in the religion she has been brought up in, she's not really alive, she's undead, and that is a very different thing. She is but the reanimated corpse of who she used to be, walking around and doing as she's told, and whatever she does or thinks or feels that is actually her own is nothing but the echo of what used to be. She isn't the only spawn of House Dance. She shares a set of facilities with a bunch of other vampires, all of them having been there long before she was. They're tired and feral, almost, aggressive and sharp and pointed and mean. All of them, except for one. The girl. The girl that brought her here. Shockingly enough, despite having had her killed and being the cause for her suffering, Yvette is kind of fond of the girl. The girl, whose name is Harani, is very fond of Yvette, even if the sight of her makes her feel guilty. Yvette now understands better than ever that she didn't want to do any of this. She was told to, and her body simply did. The two of them become friends, because they're the only ones that are kind of nice to each other. Yvette, like everybody else really, becomes nocturnal. Sun kills vampires after all, so she isn't allowed to go outside during the day. She stays indoors, and when she leaves it's at night. But she's kind of hoping that perhaps her goddess will take her out of her misery someday. Or help her, or anything, really. When she thinks nobody's looking, she prays quietly. She's not sure what she's praying for, if death or perhaps a solution to her problems. Whatever the case, one day, her master calls her over. Somebody else has told him that she's been praying. How dare she? And so, if she loves her goddess so very much, let the two of them be together. Walk outside and face your doom. Yvette can't disobey the command, but she's not complaining either. This existence of hers isn't really worthwhile. So she walks outside, and the sun feels warm, and the sun feels kind. It's not killing her. From indoors, Master Thusha watches her. He doesn't really know what to say. For the first and only time, he asks that she please come back inside. It's merely a formality, because she has to come back inside as per his orders. But he didn't raise his voice, or threaten her, or anything. What to do with a woman like Yvette? A vampire, for sure. He did bite her, he did kill her, didn't he? But there she is, standing in the sun, blessed by her goddess, perhaps. Nobody can be really sure. But what to do with a girl like Yvette then becomes his prized spawn. Special and very coveted. The others grow to resent her as he gives her nicer clothes and a nicer bedroom. Don't let this fool you. It's a gilded cage. Yes, she no longer sleeps in the communal spawn room. Yes, she wears fine silks and nice pearls. But she's just as strapped as the rest of them. He sends her out during the day to run errands for him, to deliver news and to be his envoy. And time passes like that. Except there's one more addition. He decides to change her diet. One day, he sends Harani to retrieve Yvette from her room. He has something for her. Knowing that there's no real alternative, she heads downstairs, and she is presented with a boy. Just about of age, perhaps. He's asleep or knocked out or something. Not that it really matters, because he shan't be leaving the room alive. He is for her to feast upon. No more vermin for the precious Sunwalker. Yvette asks, no, begs, no, pleads, to not drink of the boy. How dare Yvette refuse her master's hospitality, his kindness, his presence, his generosity? He puts down her head. He presses on the sides of her face and opens her mouth. With her fangs pressed on his skin, he finally orders, as if he couldn't have done it all along, drink. It is the best tasting thing that she has ever had. Furthermore, really, it's invigorating. It's almost like being alive. Her face is flush with color again. Her fingers, her hands, her body isn't cold like a corpse's anymore. But she feels horrendous. This is the worst thing she has ever done. Incidents like the one with the boy would go on to become just another part of Yvette's unlife. There was nothing she could really do, was there? She couldn't run. He could just will her back and punish her. She couldn't decline. She tried to, and he made her anyway. In the background, between all these incidents, something else is brewing. Harani had lived in the temple for as long as she could remember. Her mother was an acolyte, but had passed away before she could ever really know her. Aged 5, the brothers and sisters of the Temple of Denzel let her know that somebody was going to take her home. Lord and master of the city, Thusha Dance, a nice, kind old man who was going to adopt her. Little did she know that the kind old man was not but an illusion, controlled by a vampire lord. He took her home, and she was the sole human in a full household of vampires. The staff were spawn, and the family were their masters. Most of them Thusha's, and a few his wives. Upon coming of age, she would be bitten, but she would also be given their blood. She would join them as a pure-blooded vampire, as a member of the family. That day never came. Instead, she was bitten and refused. Too soft, too kind-hearted, too weak, as Thusha put it. She was moved out of her room, and she was moved into the spawn bedroom. It's been many years, and it's now Yvette who occupies the room. Her father's favorite doll, the young woman he chooses clothes for and sends to run errands. She doesn't resent Yvette. How could she resent Yvette? She's the one that trapped her in this predicament. Yvette does resent her, and at the same time doesn't. In the world's worst household, in this living, if you can call it living hell, Harani is the one warm and kind thing that there is. The two of them often speak. Yvette invites her to her room when Master won't notice. Yeah, you can have my bedwear. I don't really feel like sleeping, and you look so happy when I lend it to you. It's a lot more comfortable than what you usually wear, isn't it? No, don't go clean yourself in the communal basin. I'll fill up a warm bath for you. Just make sure you leave my chemise on the bed afterwards. Just so he doesn't know. This happens and happens every now and then. They're really the only solace that they have. Nothing else is going well, that's for sure. There's a mutual fondness between them. One day, Harani shows up, pale, gaunt, exhausted. She hasn't had any luck finding vermin in a while, and Master doesn't guarantee that they be fed like Yvette. She's starving. There's nothing but her and death holding her together. Her body should have long crumbled by this point. Yvette can't stand to watch, not while her body is full of live blood, sloshing around, stolen from people who didn't deserve to have it taken from them. Come here and take some of mine. I've got more than enough. And you're starving. It's not fair. I don't even deserve it. Harani is hesitant. The last time she bit Yvette, she ruined her life. She knocked her out and brought her to her father. Yvette doesn't smile anymore. She doesn't sound warm like she did that night. She doesn't want to break her again. But she's so hungry, and Yvette insists. A rather curious scene ensues, and soon after becomes just another regular occurrence in their lives. She can't bite Yvette on her hands, on her neck, on anywhere that would be visible. So Yvette slips the neck of her shirt and lets Harani bite her shoulders. There, she drinks, and they share. Time slips away for the two of them. Miserable, miserable existence. Doing a vampire lord's bidding, in fear. Deprived of any connection but the other. But at least they have each other, right? One night, everything changes. It is the night before the solstice. The year doesn't matter. It's not like Yvette has been able to keep count that well, has she? But it is the night before the solstice, and it's been a couple decades. Tonight, Yvette feasts. Before the subject is revealed to her, however, she recognizes a familiar voice. That can't be. One of Master's punishments for whichever one of her little misdeeds he has now caught wind of. He has brought her Mulvine. Mulvine is dressed in ornate robes. Something special. He's climbed up the ranks in the church, probably. She's terrified, mortified. So is he, but he's also shocked. As far as he knew, Yvette was dead, and that would have been better than this. He urges her not to harm him. She sobs that she has no choice. He insists that she does. Thusha just watches. He knows he has this under control. Yvette has no choice, she insists, and he says that she does, that he can take her with him. If the two of them run, she knows what she is, and she knows that her master will come knocking right on her door anyway. No, she would help you. Our goddess would help you. And for a second, Yvette considers. And for the first time in ages, she resists. She turns on her master, and she blinds him with a spell. He is furious. She takes off running. Mulvine takes off running. Thusha's chasing him, and he wills Yvette quiet and still. She can't do anything but stop. He takes off chasing after, she stays. And stays, and stays, and stays until she moves. He hasn't come back to will her able to move, but she moves. And he's gone. She rushes. She finds Harani. And she urges her to come with her. They can leave. She doesn't know what just happened, but she just resisted him, and it's now or never and they can leave. She doesn't know if this is a willpower thing, a miracle, if Mulvine was right and her goddess is protecting her. She can resist. She doesn't know how long it'll last, so let's go. Hi, welcome to the outro. If you hear this, it's because I'm using an electric fan. I'm inside the closet and I don't want to get heat stroke. It's really hot. I was going to make this whole thing one part, but then I realized I've been recording for 2 hours. I have 20 minutes of audio. This is not a single video. This is a two-parter. Because this is only my character backstory and like the session 1 that I played. Each of the players in the campaign got like a unique session 1. This is my one. So the campaign will come after, I guess. Same thing as usual. If you liked it, leave me a like, leave me a comment, subscribe to see the other one next week, I guess. And I have another video in this style. You can see it right here. That's it. I have commissions. I take commissions, right? I forgot to mention that I take commissions.